Hello again. Right, doing a lot of videos today. This one here is about the Scottish NHS. I'm in Edinburgh right now, capital of Scotland. Just walking by, I think called Rosebank Park or something like that. Next to Murrayfield Stadium, there. The first place I bought when I was 22 was up here and next to Meadowbank Stadium. Hopefully the little bit of wind, hopefully it's not affecting the microphone. So I just wanted to say the difference between Scottish NHS, which is a completely separate entity than the English NHS, and how it differs. So I just spent 2 weeks in England waiting in waiting rooms and going from hospital to hospital, getting sent around the, around the houses, all over the place. All the information's out of date and wrong. When you tell people the information is wrong, they don't correct it. As I say, so basically 10 days I've got nowhere. Hours and hours of waiting. Being told I need to go to a GP. Not been able to register a GP because they make it so difficult, even though I had an ID with the address on it. They wanted something else, a piece of paper. They always want something more than you can give. And it's the system in general in England. It's I don't know if it's by design or just because it's a very inefficient country, that everything is creaking at the seams. Maybe it's because of the overpopulation. It's hard to tell. I'm just trying to shield the phone from the wind. So I've come here to Scotland and I woke up at 8 o'clock, made a phone call, got an appointment at 10 o'clock. So it took me 10 days to get nothing accomplished in England. It took me 2 hours of waiting and then get seen, and now everything's happening. I've been referred on to a specialist, got the prescriptions I required. You don't pay for them in Scotland either, because it all comes out of taxes. So you do pay for it, but it comes out of taxes. Just what a world of difference it is, that's all I've got to say. So if you look at what's happening in the UK, let's say in England, they have the other NHS, one that's creaking at the seams. That one has been kind of run down. They're selling buildings all over the place. They don't reinvest in their services, so you get this. There's also a rampant inefficiency. So that all leads to the service creaking at the seams and being a target for the corporations to come in and start running like they do in the USA. And this is the end goal for the English administration, the regime that's in control of the UK, is they want to destroy the NHS so they can bring in large corporations and have a system like the USA, which, having lived there for 4 years, does not work. It's an absolute shambles. I paid $4,000 a year for my medical coverage, and it didn't cover anything. And if it did cover something, if it miraculously was able to cover some specialist, or I could get a doctor that actually accepted my plan in America, they still would have charged me what's called a deductible, which is effectively an excess. If you can't pay that, you've got no cover. In other words, your insurance is not really insurance, right? So that's something to think about. These people who don't think it's so bad that you privatise the NHS, just remember the NHS has been allowed to fail, because Scotland, well, we run our own NHS system and it's running perfectly fine up here. So I just wanted to mention that, show the differences. This is what happens when you run your own affairs as opposed to your neighbouring country. The government of your neighbouring country, voted in by the population of your neighbouring country, that pretty much runs yours for the most part. Scotland government has some powers, but not very many. I wanted to go through a few things in the paper today while I'm at this. So one of the things was it says here, fuel poverty affects 25% of Scots as numbers rise. Now, if you can have electricity cheap enough so that people in Siberia can mine Bitcoin at $1,500 when it costs the rest of the world at least well, except for China, most of the world pays about $6.5 grand to mine 1 Bitcoin. Why are Scots unable to pay? Now, one of it is because the money doesn't come back to Scotland for investment. I spoke about this before. The other thing is we pay these horrendous overheads on everything we have. The fuel that comes from our country and is refined in England to give them jobs comes back to us and with heavy taxes on top of it. Same as whiskey here. It's actually more expensive to buy it here than back where I live in Slovenia, which I'm going to mention later on, Slovenia, because it's another story in here. So that's one thing. People in Scotland have always been struggling to pay their bills, right? It shouldn't be the case when people in Norway are so damn wealthy, right? So if I look on page 16 here, I think it was, the next thing I wanted to speak about was Scotland falls 5 places in the latest well-being index. This is where Slovenia comes in, right? So it says here, of 32 OECD countries, putting the country in joint 21st place with Slovenia. Now, I live in Slovenia. They've actually got a very good standard of living. But people don't have that much money, so therefore they holiday locally. They don't have as much discretionary income as the average Scot, I would say. But I would actually say the well-being is higher there than it is here. They've got a good hospital system as well. I've just got my knee surgery done there. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Next story here is where's yours? Oh, it's the next page. Okay. So, it talks about student loans triple, debt skyrocket. Now, if we had a sovereign wealth fund like Norway does, we could completely obliterate our student loan situation, so we wouldn't have the problems that countries like America, New Zealand, Australia, I think maybe even Canada has these problems, that they have, England. Education's actually, you can get free education in Scotland as well. So, I'm not actually sure why you would require a student loan in Scotland. There must be some reasons, but I know that people can come all over the EU and go, except for England. That's their choice. The English government said it wasn't. You have to look into that. I don't know why it's not available to English. It's not our fault. But everyone else from the EU gets free education here. So anyway, that was just another thing. I think that might be the last story in there. Anyway, yeah, so just more examples again of why being independent, when you get all your money from your taxes coming into your country to be spent to make the place better, and even despite that, even though Scotland gets robbed of 40% of what it gives out, that's a fact, 40% of what Scotland gives out is robbed by its neighbouring country. And yet we still actually have a beautiful country that's a lot cleaner than England, a lot better managed. The infrastructure is better managed, although it is it's a little bit shabby as far as the scale of the infrastructure, because there's just no investment that goes into it, because that money gets spent building high-speed rail links down in England. So I'm just going to leave it there. Really, just going to do, everything's going to be short videos, under 10 minutes. I'm hoping for each one. It doesn't. There's a thing where they say you make a video, I think it's 20 odd minutes is the key amount of time to get viewers on YouTube. It's complete horse manure, because I'm being shadow banned anyway, so hardly any people ever get to see my videos, and none of us, very few subscribers probably get notified, so it makes no difference. Their algorithms are going to weed me out anyway. So I'll leave it there. Let me think anything else that happened to NHS. Yeah, I've got a booking with a specialist. I've got what else do I have? Oh, I got my prescription, as I said before. 2 hours. I just can't believe it. 2 hours. I should have just driven up here to begin with. Yeah, I'm going to start repeating myself, so I'll just leave it out. Anyway, that's the difference. One is funded by Scotland. It's run properly. It serves the people well. People still complain because nothing's perfect, of course, and that's the thing. It's all about striving for excellence, isn't it? Constant improvement. You can do these things when you have complete autonomy, sovereignty on your own country. This is why an independent Scotland will be far better than this fantastic country that we already have. Yeah. Bye.